my soul to all its potential. A letter unique in an infinite scroll. Both a guest and a gift in this life I am living. May I be for a blessing as I come and I go. I come and I go. Well, here we are again. Another Rosh Hashanah. Hard to believe it. The cycle of the year brings us back here again. Another season of tshuva. A time to pause and reflect on our behavior, to examine our relationships and engage in repair. How will this year be different? How will we be different this year? 4 weeks ago, we entered the month of Elul. The days begin to shorten, and summer gives way to fall. And with the turn of the season, we begin to return to ourselves. This cycle, these cycles shape our years. The cycle of the moon, the cycle of the holidays, the cycle of the seasons. Or to quote Rabbi Joni Mitchell, we can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. Yes, there is so much that is broken in the world. So much we want to fix. But the high holidays are about turning inward, putting down the world for just a bit, and taking a good, hard look at ourselves and our part in the world. Because how can we fix anything out there if things are broken in here? And maybe doing the work of fixing in here will actually help fix out there. This time around, are we up for the challenge set before us? Will we really look at who we are and make the changes necessary to be who we truly want to be? For most of us, the idea of being that honest with ourselves is much too uncomfortable. We don't want to dig that deep, afraid of what we might find, afraid it might upset our foundation. For if we're not standing on solid ground, what is holding us up? When I was 8 or 9 years old, I had what I can only now as an adult describe as a kind of spiritual awakening. I remember becoming aware that there was a separation between me and my body, that I was in this body, but it was separate from me. And that was followed by the knowledge that this body would someday die, and that terrified me. What would happen to me when this body dies? My 9-year-old brain wasn't developed enough to make sense of it. I didn't have language for it. I became distrusting of my body because it would do things without me, out of my control, like get terrible migraines or stomach aches or even worse, throw up. This fear and lack of trust in my own body led me to stop eating. And for the next few years, I turned into a terribly skinny, stressed out, anxious preteen. I felt like I was on the outside of life, looking in as if through a window. All the other kids could eat and joke around during lunch, while for me, lunch was scary. Being such a young kid aware of this separation between my body and my soul was untethering. And it made me feel profoundly vulnerable. The world around me felt like an illusion. Like everything that I could experience through my senses, through my body, wasn't really real. And this was much too much for my pre-adolescent psyche. What foundation was I standing on? It was like flying in a plane without understanding aerodynamics and looking down and wondering, what is holding me up? Rabbi Alan Liu talks about this kind of illusion in his book, This Is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared, which is a guide to the deep work of the high holidays. Liu suggests that we live in a world of illusion. We focus on the world of objects and ignore the truth of what is inside us. I just happened to become aware of that illusion at 9 years old before I could make sense of it. At 11 years old, I asked my parents if I could see a child psychiatrist. I knew I needed help because I knew I wasn't functioning well compared to my peers. The doctor helped me realize that I wasn't the only one who felt this way, that it wasn't so unusual, and that I wasn't alone. And this helped me. It broke the isolation I felt, and I was able to start eating normally again, re-enter the world and reconnect with friends. I began to trust that something was holding me up, like the invisible forces holding up an airplane. In his book, Alan Liu tells the story about architect Buckminster Fuller being asked by his students to name the most important person of the 20th century. And without hesitating, he says, Sigmund Freud. Why Freud, they ask, and not someone like Albert Einstein or others of great innovation or influence? And Fuller said that Freud's great achievement was what he called the single great idea upon which all the significant developments of the 20th century had rested, namely, the invisible is more important than the visible. He goes on to say that without that, we would never have had Einstein or nuclear physics or many other important achievements. And although Freud thought of religion as collective neurosis, Liu says this idea of the invisible being more important than the visible is actually a very Jewish idea. He points out that other ancient religions believed in gods that represented physical things you could see or feel, like the rain or the wind or the ocean. But the God of Judaism was God over everything and couldn't be represented by anything you could see. In fact, this God doesn't even have a name you can pronounce. This question, what's holding me up? This is what we're here to ask over the course of the next 10 days. This time of vulnerability, of fragility, of questioning and breaking our hearts open to feel all the pain we feel, the pain done to us and the pain we've caused. If we're really brave enough to look at it, this is the work. And the time set aside to do this sacred work is built into our year. this sacred time of breaking ourselves open to rebuild ourselves anew, again and again and again, every year. The invisible is more important than the visible. Earlier this year, I was turned on to a podcast called The Telepathy Tapes. The Telepathy Tapes is about people with autism who are unable to speak, and claims that because their brains and their bodies are not well connected, they have a heightened ability for telepathy. The people whose stories they feature are referred to as spellers because they have learned to communicate using a spelling board, a board with letters on it that they point to spell out words. And while, yes, they explain that the mainstream medical establishment considers spelling boards controversial, for these people who can't speak and have trouble connecting to their bodies, it's their only way to communicate. And through this communication, people have discovered that many of these spellers can read the minds of their parents, teachers, and caregivers. And the spellers have communicated. There's a place where many of them go to socialize telepathically. And they all refer to it by the same name. They call it the Hill. On the Hill, they connect to others like them, meeting people in other cities, other states, even other countries, getting to know them, creating community. Some of them go there while they're sleeping, others by going to a quiet place and blocking out all light and sound. Some of them communicate about their savantism, great abilities that they have with music or numbers or languages, conveying that they receive these abilities like downloads from what they refer to as the professor, a great consciousness that they connect to in their sleep. Whether or not you believe this or believe in this, it's hard to deny accounts of people from all over the world who've never met in person, knowing each other by name, and having the same experience and calling it the same thing. The only thing that makes them connect to it, they say that we all have these abilities. And they say that the only thing that makes them connect to it more easily is their disconnect with their bodies. Like my 9-year-old self felt that separation between me and my body. These people live in that disconnect. But for them, it allows for these gifts. Yet ironically, it is the very thing that makes the rest of the world view them as inferior or incompetent. The invisible is more important than the visible. What is holding us up? Alan Liu writes of the work of these next 10 days, we will move from self-hatred to self-forgiveness, from anger to healing, from hard-heartedness to broken-heartedness. This is the journey the soul takes to transform itself and to evolve. The journey from boredom and staleness, from deadness to renewal. It is the journey from confinement in the ego to a sense of ourselves as part of something larger. It is the journey from isolation to a sense of our intimate connection to all being. We are part of something larger than ourselves, all inextricably connected to that something larger, to all of creation and to each other. Jewish mysticism says our individual souls can be understood as shards of the great force that animates everything, or as individual waves rising up in a vast sea and then rejoining that sea when our wave has completed its time. Either way, we start off all connected to the same source, that which we're made of. Another metaphor is expressed in the question, are we humans on a spiritual journey, or are we spiritual beings on a human journey? People who have had near-death experiences, who have glimpsed that vastness and come back from it, agree on one thing: that force that breathed life into us, that we're all made of, is love. I find this idea deeply comforting. Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu. You have loved us with a great love. We come from love. And when it's our time, that love calls us home. What is holding us up? We are holding us up. That we are all part of. That love that connects us all with an invisible thread. The invisible is more important than the visible. And if that invisible thread is made of love, then love is holding us up. And if we quiet ourselves enough, block out the noise of the world, the noise of the ego, we can feel it, hear it, comprehend it, know it. We can touch this place, that vastness. We can connect to it, plug into it. I once said to my teacher, Rabbi Dani Masang, regarding this kind of connecting, of plugging in, this is where I go when I sing. I think this is why I sing. And he responded, I think this is why you is. This plugging in to that which connects us, this is prayer. And isn't that what we're all here to do? Maybe the idea of prayer is uncomfortable for you. Maybe you don't connect to the language or to words written hundreds of years ago. Let that go. Just plug in. Think of the prayer book as a facilitator, a catalyst. Find your own voice, your own words, or don't use words. Take in the world around you from a place of wonder, of curiosity, of gratitude. Find what connects you to that vastness beyond yourself. Over these next 10 days, I invite you to give yourselves over to this work. Give yourselves over to prayer. Let go of the noun of it and lean into the verb of it. Prayer isn't just about praying for something. It's about connecting to that love that connects us all. Over these days, lose yourself in the music. Lose yourself in the machzor, the prayer book. Let go of the thinking part of yourself and plug into the feeling part of yourself and let that guide you. Let yourself cry if you need to. Let your heart break. We are all here to do the same thing, and we will hold each other up. That is what community does. That is what community is. And that's what this sacred time is for. But don't stop there. Don't be limited to this building. Walk through the world in that connected place. I promise it will change the way you look at everything. It'll change the way you look at people. The part of me that is from God recognizes the part of you that is from God. You'll just recognize that you don't even have to like them to do that. You don't have to agree with them. You'll just recognize that they too are made from that same divine source. And maybe, just maybe, that will also help you see their humanity. The world needs this right now. The world needs us to break down the illusion, break down the barriers that divide us, break down the stories we make up about the other, and lean into connection, lean into shared humanity, lean into love. But in order to enact that in the world, we have to first enact it in ourselves. Temple Israel of Hollywood, friends, at this time of vulnerability, of uncertainty, of instability, it is time to turn. It is time to turn toward one another. Remember who we are and what we're made of. Time to turn inward. Do the important work of really looking at who we've become and who we want to be as ourselves, as a community, and out in the world. We are all connected by that powerful, eternal, invisible thread. We are holding us up. We is. Let us recognize the divine in each other and step bravely into the next 10 days, into the next new year, into the next 100 years. Shana Tova.